Hi, Mary Beth Thorngren from Thorngren Studio Arts with our second series, From the Garden. I had a friend generously give me some zinnias from his garden, and they're so colorful and really unusual colors. I can't wait to get started. I know some of you are in the garden club and you know all the pieces and parts of these flowers, and that's what we're going to do. I've already tinted my canvas and sketched it out, so you can pause the video and get to my point, and then we will get started. I chose to zoom in on this subject matter. I chose three of the most colorful, and I'll turn it around so you can see. I just love the combination of this orange and kind of a hot pink fuchsia and this yellow. And so I've zoomed in very close, very tight. I'm not concerned about anything else. I'm going to keep it simple. My objects are large, and there's lots of little pieces inside. So I'm going to treat it as a whole. All these little pieces I'm going to treat as one, and then I'm going to treat it as a whole. I chose a light yellow to get started, and since it's already dried, I'm going to go back into that with a large brush. I have my colors lined up according to the manner that I will be applying them to the canvas. And I'm just going to grab a little white into the yellow, pulling it out to the middle, as always. And a tad bit of water. And I'm just going to go back into my background. I like to have more than one coat of acrylic paint so that it looks more finished. Just going back into some of these negative pieces. The negative shape, as you will remember, is the space around the object being the positive shape. When I did my sketching, if I thought I messed up, I didn't erase those pencil lines. I just took my yellow paint and painted back over those lines. Again, this is your sketch. However you want to approach this still life, keep it simple. You may just want to do one flower zooming in. I'm going to have my assistant Adrienne do her painting. I don't know how she's chosen to approach it, but we like to keep things simple. For the most part. Okay, so I have my big brush, and I've got so many small pieces. This will probably be the last time I use it. I'm gonna just set that aside. Then I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush, probably my smallest. I'm just gonna use three. I've got a large, medium, and a small. Dip it into the water, and I'm gonna start from the back to the front, from the top to the bottom, and I'm going to start with all the greenery throughout the canvas. All right, into my yellow, pulling that out again. I'm going to pull out some green into that yellow and white mixture that I already had. A little more green, a little more yellow. I'm loading up my brush. And got my leaves here. I took a lot of these pieces of these flowers and I took them off the canvas, off the composition. We'll still use an Alla Prima approach, just applying and mixing as we go. But I want to achieve more of an impressionistic flower. And then impressionistic is just the impression. Very quick, painterly strokes. I've enlarged these leaves. They're actually really tiny in real life. I'm going to just get all my greenery, get that all out of the way for now. Remember, our goal is to get everything covered on the canvas, and then we can go back in and modify and refine. Impressionistic, very quick strokes. And, you know, don't be afraid if you go outside your pencil line drawing. You can always come back and clean up your edges, the end. Keeping this very loose, very painterly, very fun. Okay, so I have this yellow, green, white mixture. I'm going to add a little blue into that. A little ultramarine blue is my next. I'll go in and kind of plop down some darker pieces that are up underneath, these leaves that are up underneath the flower petals. Placing in some of the parts of the leaves, the stems. Working quickly, taking advantage of that wet on wet, so I can blend. As I go. Quick little strokes. Paying attention to where things are overlapping, and I know that they're going to be darker underneath. I'm just going to plop in a few more. Okay, so I have this blue, ultramarine blue and green mixture. I'm going to grab a little bit of burnt sienna. Still have all that green on my brush. I'm going to pull that out over here. Mix all that in there. I might have to, it's gonna grab a little more green to put into that brown. And then grab some white. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've noticed that the inner workings of these three flowers that I've chosen have a sagey color. And that looks fairly close to it. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow into that. Got a lot on my brush. Okay. So now, still working with the greenery, I'm just going to lightly sketch in the inner workings of this flower here. This one here. I'm not concerned about getting everything just exact. I don't want you to be stressed out. This is an impression. So you're painting the essence, the impression. Okay, so I've got that sagey on there. I'm just going to grab a little white and mix it into that a little corner of my sage there and kind of pick up some just pieces. Okay. Paper towel, pull off all that paint. A lot of paint on my brush. Give it a good cleaning. And start on this orange. It's kind of a burnt orange. So I'm going to mix some burnt sienna in with the golden. I need a little more water now. I like my paint to have, when I'm ready to apply it, I like to see it on the palette that it has a good consistency, kind of like a pudding. All right. So all these little dark pieces, I have, just gonna go over my sketched line with this burnt sienna and golden color. Think of it as a drawing. You're just putting in all the, you're just sketching with paint. The Impressionists had to work very quickly. They worked outside and they took advantage of the sunlight. They had to work very fast. So it really is just kind of like a sketch. When it starts to feel dry and you feel that drag, a little bit more water. I'm going a little heavier on these curved parts, and see my stroke is following the shape. Always follow the shape of your object with your strokes. Heavier at the bottom when things start to overlap, and then I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so I've worked pretty quickly on that. I still have the burnt sienna and golden mixture. I'm going to grab a little of the golden and a little bit of this orange, a little more golden. Pulling it out where I need it. I've got a lot of paint on my brush. Okay, trying to take advantage of this wet on wet. And painting each individual part and piece, every flower, every petal rather. Pulling out and the direction of the petal. Going outward. You can see, you can look closely and you can see the way that the still object moves. Every object has motion. I'm going to have to add a little more gold into that because it's not giving me the look I want. There we go. Out. All these. Some of that burnt sienna while it's still wet. Touch it with and blend it in. Take some of those hard lines and just soften them up. So I'm going to pull off the color, get just a tad bit of water, and then I'm going to put some white into my golden. Just a little bit of orange in there, so but it's kind of a. Now I'm just going to touch some of these edges so every place just overlaps and we'll be able to. So to play this little game in my head. Wherever there's a light, there's a dark. So wherever I see a dark, there's a light. Right up against each other, giving it a... Let's get the feel of the petal, the essence of the flower, the impression of the flower. It's not a very fragrant flower. I'm not enjoying it, the scent, but they are pretty. Okay. Now before I move on to my next flowers, I'm still going to take a little bit of quick advantage of my wet on wet, and I'm going to jump ahead to this alizarin crimson, and I'm going to put some ultramarine blue. I'm going to get a kind of a deep purple, and I'm going to put in this middle part, just where I see it, giving the flower a little depth in here. Still have a little on my brush. I might come in some of these darker places down at the bottom. Just give it a little. Take off this load of paint on my brush. And then see places that I've got it too heavy, I can just come in and smooth that out. I'll do that. Working it back into the wet, feathering this out. See that hard line? I'll just feather that out. Smooth out some of those lines. Leave that for now. Then I'm going to go on over to this fuchsia one. I pulled off the paint on my brush. I may not ever use I'm in a habit. I always use the same brush. If I find something, a size I like, I just keep using it. You're welcome to change your brushes. All right, so fuchsia. I'm going to start with just this purple. Ooh, and I already had that alizarin crimson mixed up with the ultramarine blue. I'm going to stick that into there. Same approach. I'm going to go in and lightly sketch all my petals that I have sketched out in pencil. Just go over them real loosely with this darker. I'm going to add a little more blue. That's really pretty. Darker. Paying attention to where things overlap, knowing that I'm going to add a little more darkness to the ones that are up underneath. See all those overlapping pieces. Lightly sketching. See, that one wasn't all the way up underneath. It comes out there, so I'm just giving a little darkness. Ooh, that is it's like a periwinkle that happened with that blue and purple. starting to drag. Just give it a dab of water. You know, the Xenia is the name of a town near us, so it's quite confusing. These are zinnias, but zinnias represent endurance. Well, something we all need in 2020 is a lot of endurance. We may need some endurance to finish this painting as well. I don't want you to get bogged down. You know, that's pretty in and of itself. If you wanted to keep it very sketchy, very loose. Again, you are the composer. Okay, so I have a nice quick sketch of my darker. I'm just gonna take a little of that off. Then I'm gonna go into this fuchsia and my alizarin crimson. Quickly just go on over those, see if I can take advantage of that wetness again. All those darker pieces blending as I go. These inexpensive acrylics don't have the coverage. You get what you pay for, really, in all art supplies, sadly enough, because they do get expensive. So I'm not getting the coverage, especially on the first go-round. You know, you can come back in and add more layers. I like to add a little tiny bit of white into these, you know, like the oranges and the pinks. You don't have that problem with the greens or the blues, really. Okay, so I've got my essence. Like a sea anemone. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of white, my third go round, and you can see kind of the stages, how I'm doing this. And then I'm gonna come back in and look where things overlap. I'm gonna give that a little bit of punch there, painting the direction of the petal. I think that was it. One night. And what happened here, I got a little more white on my brush, and I'll show you a good overlapping right there. See that? And this one's a little darker. I'm just gonna give it a punch up the top. A lot of rough edges that I know I'm gonna have to come back in and refine. Just getting my wherever there's a light, there's a dark. And that's the thing, it'll keep changing. Your painting will always change. So, quite similar. The yellow one's going to be quite similar to the orange one. I'm going to do the burnt sienna golden mixture again for my under parts. Okay, sketching in, applying more dark where I see up underneath. This part of the flower is all up underneath this one. Very quick, loaded brush. Right off the composition there. Off the page. Okay, now I'm gonna clean this just a little bit off, and then I'm gonna give the golden yellow. There was some green in my yellow. That's all right. Little strokes on those petals, taking advantage of the dark parts. Wet on wet. Ooh, look at that. Into that mixture, I'm adding a little white, same as the other two. Hit the edges, that feeling of a petal. Pump that up. There's a light, there's a dark. Okay, I need some depth in the middle, and that one has a little bit of, I'm going to go back into that sage and add some more yellow. Greenish in the middle there. Quick strokes, impressionistic impression. I'm just about done with my first go round, and I'm going to stop right now and take a look at it and do some refining, clean up my edges. Maybe I'll go back into my background, give it some more layers of the lightness. Maybe I'll have more of a light yellow here. And I'm gonna work this whole.
Hey guys, it's Mary Beth's assistant Adrian, and you're probably wondering why your video has stopped and I'm here, but this is the part where my camera cut out and it stopped recording. We were near the end of the video anyways, and the thing that Mary Beth was going to say is that she was going to work and refine the entire thing. My apologies for this inconvenience, and we weren't able to record my time-lapse painting either. There's not really much I can do about it, but I hope it's alright. I'll see you guys in the next video. Here's Mary Beth and I's final results. Thank you for watching. Oh, bye.